Jasper's speech is something that is commented on a lot. Now, I don't want to be that mum that's like, oh, my child is really advanced and his speech is amazing for his age, because I find that really, really cringy. And even though, yes, on Instagram I say, oh, Jasper looks really cute today, or I'm really proud of him for this, I would never want to be that mum that would think my child is better than anyone else's, purely because I would never want Jasper to think that. I want him to know that he's equal. I'd never want him to think he's better than anyone else or worse than anyone else. So please don't think at all that's what this video is about. So yeah, I've had lots of people asking me, you know, how do you develop his speech? Is there anything that you particularly do? What should I be doing? I could be the quietest person in the world, not do any of these things, and he could still have really good speech. I could do all of these things and he couldn't say a word. So please don't think, oh, if I do those things, then my child speech will suddenly develop really well. It's parenting. There are things, people have given me tips on potty training and moving Jasper into a big boy bed that works for them, and it doesn't work for us. Yeah, these are just some tips and tricks to try, and if it helps you, then great. So the first thing, books. We try and incorporate books into everyday life, so it's a big part of our bedtime routine. During the day, he's got books downstairs in the playroom, so he'll just go and take them and sit down and read. I think he's got them in like his kitchen toy box. There's pretty much books all over. I always try and include him in the stories, so for example, letting him finish my sentences. Apart from just reading the story, asking him what else he can see in the books. He likes Gruffalo. So we'll read the story and I'll let him finish off different parts of the sentences, but I'll also ask him where are his eyes, where's his nose, things like that. Or I'll ask him, what's this? And I'll point to maybe a butterfly or a tree. Or sometimes I'll just say, what can you see? And I think that's a really good way of kind of building up vocabulary. Something that he started to do recently as well is he'll bring me a book and he'll bring himself a book, because he'll want to just read by himself, but he doesn't want me to feel left out. He closes the book and he goes, done! And he goes and puts it away, and it's kind of promoting that independence as well. What we do try and do is swap around the books quite often. There'll be a Christmas bookshelf filled with Christmas books, and then a springtime one, an Easter one. At the moment I'm looking into getting books about the new baby coming, so like family ones and introducing a new sibling. So next up is a running commentary. Now I know it's really good for children to have quiet time and downtime and kind of just lower their sensory input a little bit. But I do try and talk to Jasper as much as I can. When I'm getting him dressed, I'll be saying, oh, you've got your green socks today, and oh, let's put your socks on, let's put your trousers on. Or when we're food shopping, oh, we're in the trolley, we're walking towards the car, there's the car, and oh, look, a bird just flew by. And I really noticed that he does it now. We'll be walking around and he'll go, yogurts, mummy. And he'll go, little yogurts, Peppa Pig yogurt. Or he'll go, lady, happy lady, or a man on phone, and he'll just kind of like just be talking as we're walking around. Even if they're not talking back to you, just saying things to them, because you know they're going to be taking it in. The next thing is singing songs and nursery rhymes. This is something that I don't do as much as I could do, and it's more something that Jasper will come home singing a song or saying a nursery rhyme from nursery, and it will kind of prompt me and remind me to do it with him as well. They're great ways to get your child to learn vocabulary and like numbers and colours. And another great thing to do as well is to randomly change the words. So for example, Humpty Dumpty sat on there, and then I'll go sofa. Or I'll go Humpty Dumpty sat on there, and he'll go table. And just try and get him to like think of other things that Humpty Dumpty could be sat on. And yeah, that's just a great way to use their imagination as well, and yeah, just kind of teach them that things don't have to be exactly in that one way. I think all kids like listening to music. Jasper loves watching music videos and listening to the radio, and yeah, he loves dancing, so music is a big part of his life anyway. So if he can be learning his speech and increasing his vocabulary at the same time, then it's great. Another thing is having interaction outside of the home. I definitely think that your child going to nursery, going to different clubs, spending time with friends and family is a massive, massive help in increasing your toddler's speech. You know, if your child's just at home with you all the time, I'm not saying at all that as one person you can't teach them everything, but I just think it's good for them to be around other people's voices and other people's accents, and you know, hearing men's voices, women's voices, children's voices, and yeah, just different expressions. You know, like my dad can do, he does a really good like Thomas the Tank Engine voice that I can't do. Yeah, I just think it's really good for them to be around people that, you know, might know different vocabulary to you. They might respond differently. For example, I would say to Jasper, you know, you must be kind if he does something like pushes someone. Whereas at nursery, they might just say, oh, don't push, or oh, you're being cheeky. I just think it's good to kind of get more of a rounded range or vocabulary. I don't really know if that makes sense. You know, I might never talk about aeroplanes because I don't know much about them. So that's a whole load of vocabulary, whereas his granddad might know all of the different words and the parts and stuff. So that's teaching him something that I can't do at home. Another thing is questions. I ask Jasper a lot of questions. So when we're out and about, it's kind of like the running commentary one, but you know, I say to him, oh, what colour's that car? Or what can you see in the sky? And when we're on our way back from nursery, I'll ask him, what did you do today? Who did you play with? Did you have fun? Who brought you lunch? Who changed your bum today? What did you have for lunch? Another thing with questions is I try and ask a variety of them. So for example, if we saw a dog, but instead of just saying, what's that? You could also say, is that a dog? Or what noise does that animal make? Or is that a cat? You know, give them make it a little bit harder for them. Or, oh, can you see a dog anywhere? Yeah, and asking, is it big or is it little? What colour is it? What's it saying? What's it doing? Things like that. Another thing, without bombarding him with questions, I just try to listen. So like I said, if we're in the car and he says something, I'll use that as a prompt to then talk about that. You know, you don't always have to lead the question and the conversation. So for example, sometimes when Jasper's playing, it's just like, you know, you don't always have to give them a toy to play with. You can let them just find what they want to play with. Sometimes we'll just sit there and Jasper will go, oh, what's that, mummy? And then we'll start a conversation. Another thing I like to do is copying, not to an annoying extent, and I obviously don't want him to start copying other children. But for example, if he's playing with the trains and he'll go like beep beep, and I'll go beep beep, and then he'll look at me and he'll go, don't crash, and I go, don't crash, and he kind of, it's like a little game that we have, but it's not something that's turned into like an annoying copying everything that we say phase yet. Another thing that you can do is just practicing like silly noises and tones of voices and volumes and stuff like that. So quite often, you know, I'll go, let's be quiet like mice. And he'll go, shh, quiet. And then I'll go, oh, or a big dragon, and I'll shout, and then he'll do the same. And when we just practice different, like we do like siren noises and car noises and animal noises, and, you know, just getting him to practice different, how to use his mouth and making different sounds so that I know he's able to do it. Because that's one thing with Reese. He can make the sound s, and he can say nake, but he says nake instead of snake. So it's trying to teach him to put them together. But we don't know that unless we practice with him and go, oh, can you go s like a snake? And he'll go s. So we know he can do it. So that's something, a lot of what I do with Jasper, I practice with Reese as well, because even though he's a year older, Reese's understanding is a lot better, but I'd say their speech level is probably on par. Another thing as well is correcting them. So knowing when to correct them, really. There are some things that I wouldn't correct him on, for example, tortoise and turtle, because, you know, they're so similar. And then there's things like if he's counting, he'll go, you know, 2, 3, 5. And for me, I just think that's amazing that he can do that. So I'll be like, oh, that's amazing, let's try again. And I go 1, and just try and like encourage him to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if he misses them out, then I don't, you know, it's like, oh wow, that's amazing, well done. So that's everything. Those are the ways that I encourage Jasper's speech. They're all things that can help to build a bigger vocabulary, build confidence, build independence. And it makes for an easier life for you when you have that higher level of communication, I think. Please do give them a go. Let me know if you've got any tips below. Please don't forget to like it if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!